and Patreon as well. We're live on Patreon as well. This is a live stream that I was expecting to make at some point this week. I won't lie to you. I was expecting to be on stream talking about this subject over the international break. Marco Silva's future at Fulham is very much in a precarious situation right now, and I think we need to talk about that, and we need to react to it, and we need people to put in their comments below and have a conversation about it. Look, Fulham are sat 1 point above the relegation zone. They've got they've had 5 defeats in 6 in the Premier League. They're sitting in a precarious position, not only in the Premier League, but with Marco Silva's contract situation as well, out of contract. And it really at this stage looks like he won't be signing a new deal. And that's going to cause a ripple effect of decisions that basically will have to come from the board, whether they go, okay, we'll have you to the end of the season, or do they cut their losses now, get in someone new over these next 2 weeks, and go again. But whoever comes in, and the issue I have with the issue that there is with this situation is if they know that Silva's not going to commit, then why would they give him any money in the window to spend in January, which is obviously going to help the squad try and, let's not lie, stay up in the Premier League. This is a situation that is very, very, very precarious. Good afternoon, Jim. Thank you very much for joining me. This is I first heard about this on Sunday. I first heard about it on Sunday. I was in the pub. I was on my way to the pub. I wanted to watch zero football on Sunday, which I managed to achieve. I was having a roast with my friends and my other half, and I wanted to switch off completely. I found out about what was going on. I thought, let's just forget about that and leave it till Monday. Monday came, and I again heard things, but I didn't want to go with it. I wanted to wait. I wanted to wait for it to break in other media outlets, and thus has happened. And I knew it was going to be the likes of Alex Crook, the likes of Ben Jacobs. It just felt like that was inevitable. Look, if we want to, if those of you who have not been on social media in the past hour and a half, this is the tweet that came out from Ben Jacobs. He said, "Understand Fulham are weighing up the future of Marco Silva. Tensions are mounting with Fulham only a point above the relegation zone, and Silva, who is a free agent this summer, has proven reluctant to sign a new deal. This has been Fulham's preference since the summer in terms of, I guess he wants to get Marco Silva. Well, we know from that interview with TalkSport that Shahid Khan wants Marco Silva to sign a new deal. And look, there's lots of. Do you know what I've seen a lot of this sort of this season in the last 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks is that fans are saying he looks. There's a comment here from Ash. He looks defeated and beat down. It's not very much. It's now very much bleeding over to match days. From my position, I don't think his mannerisms have changed too much. Is that the way he looks in press conferences pre and post match? I don't think it's changed too much. You're going to be down when you lose, and you're going to be a little bit lively when you win. Asking him questions hasn't been anything. I haven't noticed any change in his approach to answering questions. Okay, maybe there is a little bit more snap when you're losing games, but any manager would snap, or not snap as such, but would be a little bit more not pleased with the situation. Therefore, some questions could rub you up the wrong way. But I haven't noticed too much. But there was an admission of it was all Fulham's fault on Saturday, and of course that was very much the case. It was the worst performance of the season. I think it might have been one of the worst performances under the Silva era. But this whole thing is going to. There's always, it's a chicken and egg situation. What's the root cause of stuff that happens, stuff like this that happens? And I think that, you'd have to look at recruitment. You'd have to look at the lack of recruitment. It wasn't a summer full of activity, and the activity, when it did come, came very, very late, and that's a huge, huge concern. The Kevin signing was exciting, but we were sat in mid-October. And in fact, it might have been the 1st of November. It was the 1st of November, and he'd made his first start. we're into November, and the window was open in June. So not great, not great. And obviously the JKA situation, the Chukwueze looks very, very good. Lecomte obviously has been very, very good so far when he's come in. The Wickham game obviously stands out, and Chukwueze looks really good as well. But we lost Pereira, and we didn't replace Pereira, and that's obviously a massive concern. Is there a Pereira-shaped hole in our midfield? We've got 2 10s who can occupy that position, but in terms of an extra body in midfield, we're having to shuffle around a few things, playing Iwobi midfield, which, by the way, I don't mind. I think Iwobi's very good in that position, but it would have helped if we had one more King, Smith Rowe, Lukic, Berger, and one more, obviously, Kenny and Reader options as well. It's been a very... We replaced Pereira with King, yeah, of course, but the direct replacement of a first team player, that's a kid coming through the academy, and that was something that Marco Silva made a point of, after. And look, yes, Marco Silva has called out the board, and that's to be expected when business isn't being done or wasn't being done. So in that sense, yes, he's looked a little bit more outspoken. But going back on the contract situation, whenever he's been asked about it in a press conference, he's basically said it won't be a distraction for the season. And I won't let it be a distraction for our players. And I believe that to some extent. Like, it's not a distraction on a match day, but when you've got a 2-week international break and you're sat 1 point above the relegation zone and you see all these reports come out, or the reports coming out now, it can be a distraction now because there's no games for 2 weeks. But it will be a lingering, because these reports will come out, and they've come out, and that will be the narrative going into the press conference for the Sunderland game, and then those questions get asked, and then it starts to feed in. And Marco Silva will probably bat it away and say, I don't want it to be a distraction, I won't make any comments on it, and that's absolutely fine. Like, I wouldn't expect him to comment on it. But it does feel as if we are sat now at a stage for the first time under Marco Silva, where it feels like decisions are going to be made, whether the Khans want to bring in someone new to try and turn around the run of results. That manager will want assurances that they can get back in January to try and help. And if Marco Silva's, like I just said, if Marco Silva doesn't sign a new deal or is reluctant to sign a new deal, then the chances of being backed in January, those conversations. Well, I need this. I need a certain amount. I want this player. Well, hold on. You're not going to be here at the end of the season. Why should we invest X amount of money in a player when you're going to be gone in 5 months' time at the end of your contract in June? So yeah, it's a bit of a mess. And obviously the results on the pitch, the performance on Saturday was really, really poor. And also I've been watching so many podcasts and fans from other clubs talk about their managerial situations at Middlesbrough, Wolves, Norwich, Southampton, and the managerial market right now is very, very thin on the ground. If I want to be respectful, I don't think there's any names right now that stand out to me who could be an upgrade on Marco Silva, and that's the truth of it. I don't think we're going to find. I think the next person who comes in, will have to do miracles to hit the heights of what Marco Silva did at Fulham, and that's the real issue here. The biggest asset at our club is Marco Silva, and as it stands, he seems reluctant to sign a new deal. And you think of I'm a massive fan of Rosenior. I would like to see Rosenior come in, but he's obviously very settled in France. You've now got Gary O'Neill on the market, Michael Carrick on the market, Will Still on the market, Daniel Farke's in trouble at Leeds as well. There's no real standout name. Ange Postecoglou has already been in the Premier League this season and only lasted 5 games was it in the Premier League, which is ridiculous. And I don't know if he'll be wanting to get back into management. Russell Martin's had a turbulent time at Rangers, and it feels very, very sad. Look, nothing's happened yet. Things could be resolved, but at this moment in time, as my understanding goes, it doesn't feel like this is going to come to a conclusion where he's going to be signing on a dotted line. And then suddenly you have to look at a new manager, which obviously, in the back of our minds, we were all sort of expecting that. And some fans have already come to terms with it and have already sort of been like, well, actually, I'm ready for a new manager. I'm ready for a new era, but I'm very much just trying to stay on the fence. Excuse me. What is going on? I'm trying to stay on the fence at the moment, trying to gauge the reaction, trying to make up my own mind about the things. Obviously, I've had conversations with Marco Silva, I've asked him questions week in, week out. I feel, without going all, I feel quite attached to him. I'm sure Fulham fans feel quite attached to him. He's been here a long time. This is a long stint to be a manager of a football club, especially in the Premier League and in this hiring and firing era that we're in. But yeah, it feels a bit nervy, and there is a question: is he in charge for the Sunderland game? We'll have to see. And I think this is one to keep an eye on over the next few days for sure. I'm definitely going to be keeping my. I thought, oh, maybe international break, maybe take a few days off and just sort of chill a little bit. No, we're going to be reacting to everything, both on Patreon and all the Twitter and YouTube and all that stuff. Let's go into some comments. I know you guys have. I'm really grateful for everyone who's sort of tuning in. I know it's a Tuesday lunchtime. Everyone's probably at work, which is why I wanted to go live at this sort of time where maybe people are taking a half hour to have their lunch. It won't. Let me just go for the YouTube comments first. It won't. If he won't sign a new deal, presumably because he hasn't been backed in the market, then we're back to yo-yo times, all on the board. Right. Yeah. I'll just go for the comments about sort of touching on them, and then we'll circle back. Hi, Jack. Do you want a replacement when Marco Silva does go? Oh, who do you want as a replacement? Again, it's really, really hard to say. I just said Rosenior. To be fair, do you think Marco Silva has lost interest, his body language on the touchline from previous seasons? Again, like people talk about his body language and stuff. I don't know. I don't know. I always see him pretty passionate on the touchline. Off to Colchester tonight. I'm not going to go because we're already out of the competition and I just need a few days. It's been a lot of travelling for myself personally, and a lot of travelling to come as well. Burnley and Newcastle coming up quite soon as well. And I just want to take a bit of stock and spend some time with those that I hold dearest. Generally, no one out there who's a good enough replacement leave it till the summer. He's been the only good thing at the club recently. Khans have got great form of making appointments. Marco Silva accepted. Where is our football knowledgeable backroom? Okay, yeah, not great form. Rosenior would be okay. Silva's project has run its course. Honestly, his time has come. Just can't be like this. Agree. It feels like the project has run, but I think he has a project that the board pissed on. Okay, fair enough. This is from Ash. I read this out earlier. So he said, my issue with TK and Alistair McIntosh is I have zero belief they were replaced well. And look, this has been what I like. What is interesting about this one is because in the back of their minds, they'll know that Marco Silva has been out of contract, who will be out of contract from June. They'll know this from last summer. So they've probably, I'd like to think, have already started mooching around and having a look. The Fulham job is incredibly attractive. Let's not beat around the bush. It's an incredibly attractive job in a good place in London with a very good squad, a very capable squad, and a new manager means a new regime. We're talking right now like as if Marco Silva's left the club. He hasn't. He's still here. Yeah. So realistically, surely the Khans didn't spend when he has not signed a contract. Yeah, but Marco demanded. Again, it's that sort of like it's that sort of cycle. I've said it so many times now. I might have said it on Fulhamish about 50 million times now that Marco would want investment to enhance the squad, but the Khans will want him to sign the new contract. But Marco will want investment, and then if he gets investment, he might then sign the contract. And but now it seems as if the situation's got to where he won't sign a contract, which means that we've reached a point where now the Khans will be like, well, there's no point backing you in the summer. Then there's no point spending money for a manager who's not going to be here in a few months' time. Agree with what you've said. I don't understand the comments saying he's taken as far as he can. I think there's a feeling that, yeah, because like if you think about it, he hasn't, because we're in a cup quarter final and that could go to a semi-final, that could go to a final. We haven't been in a final under Marco Silva. So there is a feeling that he could take us further than we possibly have. And that would, if we won the Carabao Cup, I know we've got to beat Newcastle and a load of other teams to get there. Then we'll get into Europe, and that's somewhere we haven't been under Marco Silva. And I think if we were to get into Europe, which obviously it just doesn't look likely in the league, we're in a relegation battle, to be fair, then that might change the opinion of Marco Silva. But reluctant to sign a new deal is the line, and I can't see that changing unless the Khans put it all on the line, offer him a massive deal, give him however much money in January that Fulham can spend within their limits to upgrade the squad. Because the squad just didn't perform very well at all on Saturday, and they're looking like one of the weakest teams in the Premier League right now. We are lucky that there are a few teams struggling. Like Newcastle completely struggling. Leeds, Burnley are struggling. West Ham and Forest are looking upwards. Wolves are completely cut adrift. But Fulham have got to be better than 3 teams this season. Right now, would I take 17th? Absolutely, because I think that Fulham are in a really precarious position and we're not scoring enough goals. Let's carry on with the comments from Ollie, implying there's someone out there that we can realistically bring in that could take us further. Oh, I see what you mean. The 2 comments. Right now, I don't think there's a manager out there that could that is an upgrade on Marco Silva, in my personal opinion. Would it be a firefighter that comes in and tries to keep the team up and steady the ship? Doesn't feel like a firefighter team. It doesn't feel like Fulham should be in this situation with the squad they've got, but they are. And is it just a hangover? I mean, if you think about it, when people have made the point that the form at the back end of last season was horrendous. Then we go into a new season with hardly any additions, 3 of which coming after deadline or on deadline day. There's not much change. Like, honestly, the lineup at Brighton, obviously Josh King started, which was great, but you look at the squad and you go, it's exactly the same to last season. This is some real concern. The players we signed were definitely project players who can be sold high with any manager. This is like the thing that's like made me think that Marco Silva might want to stay because of the projects of Smith Rowe, King, Muniz. Who else? Smith Rowe, King, Muniz, Kevin. They're exciting projects. All 4 of those players have got massive futures. But it feels as if, if Silva, 5 years is a long time at a club. If he wants a new challenge, he's not going to stay here forever, is he? And you think, because he brought those players and he wants to see that through. But then seeing that through, how many years is that? 5-10 years to see a career through. And obviously, we're in strong positions with Kevin. We've got him on a 5-year +1 contract. King's on a 4-year deal right now. Muniz has just signed a new deal as well, and Smith Rowe has got a few more years on his deal as well. So they're all in strong positions. Like, anyone who inherits this squad is going to have a real big, good project. But there are some gaps in the squad. There are some things that need addressing. And I think the players themselves as well have underperformed. I thought the Everton game was just really miserable, really, really tough to watch. Bassi had a really poor game, in my opinion. Tete was struggling with Grealish, and Sessegnon was struggling with Iliman Ndiaye. And Fulham, it was just a bad day all round, really. If they're trying to get Marco to sign a new contract, leaving transfers to the last minute was nuts. Yeah, I mean, it's not going to please. He said we have to sign players, and from that stage in the summer where we're playing Frankfurt and we're playing Al Ittihad, and we've got no new players coming through the door, no one in for a pre-season. That for me is like, well, he's probably hands up in the air going, we were so close to Europe last season. Why can't we push on and get closer, or try and get closer to Europe next season with an even more competitive season? And it's proved to be the case that sometimes you can add little bits to the squad and still do very, very well. But the Premier League this season is even more competitive than it was last season, where Fulham were doing very well last season. And it feels as if Fulham are slightly behind the power curve. And I say power curve like it's FIFA. I mean behind the curve. Behind the curve in terms of what it takes to get points, what it takes to score goals. And if those players like Chukwueze and Kevin, who do look like bright sparks, came in too late and they're still taking their time to get going, that delays your season, that delays the progression. And that's the reason why Fulham haven't picked up enough points so far this season. Well, that's one of the reasons why Fulham haven't picked up enough points this season. Marco's choice of player as well was definitely way older, more experienced, but not aligned with the board. That's another point as well. King has start as well with Kevin and Chuck too. King has start has start as with Kevin. Okay, I don't get that one, but leaking too many goals as well. Need to play either Lukic or Berg. Yeah, so I think the fan base is definitely at a stage where we feel as if one of Lukic and Berg is enough. That will definitely happen against Sunderland because obviously Lukic is suspended. But who knows what's going to happen before? I mean, think about it, we're Tuesday. We don't play for another 11 days. What on earth is it going to look like? Because this situation will probably go on and on and on. I don't know what's going on with Shade Khan. Is he going to come over to England? Is he going to stay put? It feels as if things are getting to a crunch point, he would probably come over, wouldn't he? And if he does come over, that probably sets off more alarm bells. Yeah, it's not a good situation. Marco is reluctant to sign a new deal because of lack of transfers, I think. But the people dealing with transfers are reluctant to make signings for him because he isn't signing a deal. And it's like this cycle, isn't it? Yeah, it's ridiculous. Why sign players for a manager who is in the last year of his contract when a new one comes in and might not like these players? Exactly. You bring in, you bring in 2 players in January, and let's say we bring in a new manager in the summer, and he's like, well, these players don't fit the system I want to play. Exactly. I mean, this is also nice tash. Thank you very much. I need to shave this bit actually, just to make the tash a bit more prominent. But anyway, oh well. We replaced Pereira with King. Yeah, I sort of see what you're saying. To the contract extension, he said previously, why not more years? And the Khan said he's part of the long-term plans. It's true. But like, again, like for the media, you're going to, press conferences aren't, you'll tell the truth in press conferences, but you want a positive spin on things. You're not going to necessarily come out and say, "Oh, actually, I'm not signing a new deal. We can't come to an agreement. I'm not happy," because it just creates a bad narrative for the story. So, but no narrative for the club. So yeah, we'll see what happens. It's just a waiting game, isn't it? And we're just here to react to the news, aren't we? I think the gap left by Andreas may be bigger than anticipated. Maybe it's just that depth. I think it's more. It's not Andreas per se, because his creativity wasn't amazing, but it's just that sort of extra first team player. And that's no disrespect to Harrison Reed and Tom Kearney. Kearney didn't get on the pitch on Saturday. Reed's not been in the squad for a few weeks. It's evident that Fulham are missing a midfield player to make a difference. Does anyone trust Tony and Alistair in appointing an upgrade? They hit a goldmine with Silva. It was a great appointment. Marco Silva was a clever appointment, but that was a time where Fulham were in the Championship and needed instant promotion, and they got it. And then he obviously kept us up because he is a very good manager. I think the managerial market right now is really on the floor. There's not many. I mean, you see obviously Rob Edwards going from Middlesbrough to Wolves, which I think is a shocking decision, considering what Borough could achieve this season and the fate that Wolves are looking at this season. Could Fulham poach a manager from another club from abroad? I mean, Liam Rossini is the one that I would personally want. He's got a history with the club, and he seems to be doing a very, very good job. After doing a good job at Hull, he's gone to France and sort of smashed it. But he's part of that sort of Blue Co group, which obviously makes me feel quite uneasy because it's obviously Chelsea linked. But at this stage, I really care about Fulham. Obviously, I want Fulham to survive. And literally, I can't believe we're sort of talking about survival mode. But and if we get, look, I spoke about this on Patreon yesterday. If we get 3 points against Sunderland, all the other fixtures around us, they're very much a case of everyone below us are playing very difficult games. I think Forest are playing Liverpool, West Ham are playing Bournemouth, Burnley are playing. Oh, I can't remember now. I know that. No, it doesn't matter. Well, someone will know, but that was my point. Look, we could get some breathing space. Will a change of manager make a difference if everything above stays the same? Well, it will bring in new ideas, new tactics, new way of playing. So maybe, I mean, a manager always does, whether it's a negative impact or a positive impact, it always does change something. Gareth Southgate's been spotted in, oh gosh, I don't even know there is a Tesco in Motsford Park. Is Silva just leaving or going to another club? Well, I mean, I don't know. I mean, if I had to make a guess, and this is just pure opinion, the amount of times he spoke about going back to Portugal, if there's a job opening there at Sporting or Porto or Braga or somewhere like that, maybe. If there's a job opening in the Premier League, I'm sure he'd be interested in it. I think that's where he probably wants to stay. But does he warrant a job in the top? We've seen all these interviews from from Mitrovic over the last couple of days saying, he should be managing a top 6 club. I agree that he could probably take that on, but in the last 6 to 8 months and the way that Fulham have performed and the results they've got, does he warrant a job like that? Do you think he's deserving of a job? That's a question for the fans. And Lewis, is the player effort low due to the fact that they know Marco is not staying? I don't think that, I don't think that the player low effort. I think we just got outplayed on Saturday. If you're referring to Saturday, I think we just got completely outplayed. I think that the managers, they're probably still playing for the manager. I don't see them. There's players who have been with Marco Silva for so long, and some of them obviously knew they want to make an impact. I don't think he's lost the dressing room or anything like that. There may be some huge frustrations, and after a game there might be some difficult conversations and some harsh truths being said in the dressing room because they're losing games. But I will caveat it with the 4 games that we lost in a row. I think we played well in all 4. Maybe Villa, actually, we were pretty crap against Villa, but we had taken the lead. Bournemouth, we played well. We had the lead and late, and we gave it away. Arsenal, we competed really well. No shot on target, but we created chances, and they scored one goal, and they were top of the league anyway. And against Newcastle, I thought we were just as good as them, but our game management was completely wrong. But against Everton, this was the first defeat. I think this is the first defeat this season when we completely got outplayed and didn't compete. Because even against them lot down the road, we were really good for 45 minutes. Have we reached a stale point? It feels that way. It feels like it's got a bit, stale. But that's just a win again. The problem I see is you look at the fixtures coming up. Sunderland obviously flying high. Sorry, let me just get the fixtures up. Sunderland flying high. We're at home. We've only lost 1 home game this season. I expect us to get something from that game. I think we're really strong at home. Spurs away, Spurs' home form is dreadful, but I just don't. I was making this point to my brother this morning. I said I don't see Fulham going to a top 6 team now and winning, or playing a top 6 team now and getting a result. Last season I could. Season before I could. Even before that I probably could as well. But it doesn't feel like Fulham have the minerals to get a big. You look at. I hate to bring it up. I made a point to Luke. You look at Brentford. They've beaten Liverpool at home. They've beaten Man United at home this season. They've beaten Newcastle at home. They're getting good results at home. But I just Man City come to the cottage. In a few weeks' time, we haven't beaten Man City in the Premier League era under Silva. And they're the only top 6 team we haven't beaten. And I just don't see us beating them at all. That could, a win against Sunderland and a good performance against Tottenham, you never know. But at the moment, my confidence in the team is low. I think fans' confidence in the team is low. I think the players themselves are low. They are good players. We have a very good squad, but it's just not quite clicking in terms of goals. And we're conceding too many goals at the back. The goals against Everton were just far too sloppy for me. Then we host Palace, who we have a terrible record against in the Premier League. Away to Burnley, Parker's versus his old side. Then we go to Newcastle in the Cup, host Forest, go to West Ham. It's all looking a bit horrible. And I remember when the fixtures came out, I looked through the fixture list and just went, that's a dreadful fixture list. It's not good. I'd love someone like a Joe Sanson to bounce off right now and get his opinion. I don't think we're doing a Jack and Joe show this week. I think he might be on holiday actually. Is he in Mexico? Anyway, he's actually texted me a little bit earlier. Because Jack Stroudy said if we sack Silva, I think a large chunk of the fan base will completely turn on the board. Because I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. It's all a bit precarious. He has to take the blame with that performance on Saturday. He did. Don't worry. He absolutely did. Let me rephrase. He said that we weren't good enough. We have to look ourselves in the mirror. And if that means him, if that means the players, I don't think Silva's one of those guys who throws players under the bus at all. I think it's a collective. No need to play Berger and Lukic against struggling Everton. I 100% agree. At the time, I was like, okay, I can understand it. We're away from home. But after 10, 15 minutes, I quickly realised this team needed a 10, a natural 10. And Iwobi's obviously can play in that position. But just stick with what, I don't know, the confidence was really high after Wolves. and Everton just completely suffocated us. It was really dreadful. Tough fixtures to start, tough injuries. The injuries is obviously a factor. Few rough officiating decisions in the first few games and stalemate in Marco's contract. I don't know if it's AS desire as dire as some may feel. I know what you mean. I think that's a good way of looking at it. Like, there's been a lot of factors, but I don't want to sit here and be like, or I don't think any Fulham fan wants to sit here, or Marco Silva wants to sit here and say the reason we're doing so badly is because of this and because of that. If you think about it, the injuries, and when we did have a lot